Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Aurora and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a super cute granny hexagon cardigan with star pockets. Now, if you are coming from my TikTok regarding like my Starry Night cardigan that I showed, I unfortunately was not able to find the same yarn, but it is from the same brand as this one. It is going to be the Lions brand Mandala, and it is going to be in the color steel blue. That is the one that I used for the base of my cardigan. I am using the same yellow yarn that I used before. It is going to be the Red Heart pale yellow. And then I will be using 3 different size crochet hooks. I have a 5.5 millimeter, I have a 5 millimeter, and then a 4.5. So the 5.5 is going to be for the base of my cardigan because this is a size 4 medium size yarn, and it does call for a 5.5. And then for these two right here, the 5 point is what we are going to use to make our star pockets, and then the 4.5, sorry, is going to be what we use to make our cuffs. If you are wanting to add cuffs, you don't have to. And then we also will need a scissors. I have some yarn needles, and then I also have some stitch markers. That is going to come in handy when we do the cuffs. But yeah, make sure you have water, snack, get yourself comfortable because this is going to take a while. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to start with is our star pockets. I just think because they are small, they are a bit easier just to go ahead, get out of the way, and then we can go ahead and start our cardigans. I have the 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. I have my pale yellow, and I'm going to show you 2 ways of how I learned to make a magic circle. So what we're going to do, we're gonna cross over, under, and make an X. Gonna go under, and then pull that top down, and make a slip knot onto our crochet hook. Then you can chain 4 if that's what you would prefer. I just think the chain 6 gives you a little bit more room to work with, especially if you are a beginner. So I'm going to chain 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what you are going to do is you're just going to slip stitch into the first chain that we made right here. Gonna go ahead and slip stitch. Gonna pull that yarn through and then pull it through again. And then you got a cute little circle. Then from there you'll just want to chain 2. Now let me show you the way that I prefer to make it because it's also a lot quicker to make. So I just yarn over again, under, make my X, gonna go under, pull the top, and then I'm going to twist. And then I'm going to chain 1, take my fingers out, and then I got my magic circle. So I'm going to chain 1 more, and now I got my chain 2. And this chain 2 is going to act as one of our double crochets. So if you don't know how to do a double crochet, it's really simple. You just yarn over, you go through the circle, pull up a loop, so you'll have 3 loops. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Again, yarn over, go through the magic circle, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be placing 21 double crochets in this circle. So once you have put all your 21 double crochets in the circle, I will show you what our next step is going to be. Okay, so I have finished doing my 21 double crochets, and what we are going to do next is we are going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 2. So as you can see, this right here is my chain 1, this is my chain 2. So I'm going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 2. Then you can see that chain 1 and chain 2 a little bit better now. And then what we are going to do from there, we're going to pull the little tail on our magic circle to close it off. And then it should look like that. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to chain 2, and then into this space right here. So this is where we did the slip stitch into our chain 2, the next space over right here. We're going to place 2 double crochets. And then we will have a cluster of 3. Next, we are going to chain 2, and the chain 2 is going to act as one of the points to our star. And then into the same space where we just were, we're going to place another cluster of 3 double crochets. So we have 1 point right here. What we are going to do next is we actually are going to skip the next 3 stitches. So we're going to skip 1, 2, and 3. And then into this 4th stitch right here, you're going to make sure you yarn over. You're going to go through, and we're going to place another cluster of 3 double crochets. So really right now we're just making the points of our stars. Okay, then again, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3. Into that 4th stitch and do the same thing. So really you just want to keep doing this until you're done with your last cluster, and then I will show you what our next step is going to be. Okay, so I just finished my last cluster. What we are going to do next is, again, in the top of our chain 2s, we are just going to slip stitch. And then we have a little star. Might look a little wonky right now, but I promise it'll look better once we start building it up. So then what we do from there, we're going to chain 2. And this time what we are going to do is in the tops of these stitches, or we're going to go through these 2 stitches, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Like that. And then into our corner right here, it's basically the same thing as like the previous row. We're just doing the cluster of 3, the chain 2, and then that other cluster. So something you want to look out for is sometimes when you do the second cluster, it can kind of cover that next stitch that you need to go into. Because if you don't pull this back, your sides can end up a little bit, like one side can look, I guess, longer than the other. So you want to yarn over, go through that stitch. And then yarn over, go through the next one. Then what we're going to do next, yarn over, we are actually going to skip these next 2, and then we're going to go into this one. Okay, then again we're back in a corner, so we're going to do our cluster of 3, our chain 2, and another cluster. Okay, then again, you're going to pull back your last cluster, making sure you can see that first stitch. Do another 2 double crochets. Again, we're going to skip 2. So skip 1, 2, and go in through that other stitch. And you're just going to keep doing this all the way around. Okay, so I'm just finishing up my last few stitches. So 1 and 2, and then skip 2. And then instead of going into the top of our chain 2, we're actually going into the top of our first double crochet. So this is our chain 1, our chain 2. This is the top of our first double crochet. So you're gonna go under those loops and slip stitch. And now our star is looking more like a star. And each row basically is going to increase by 2. So you're going to, so in the next row it's going to be 4, you do your corner, 4, skip 2, 4, corner, 4, skip 2, and then the row after that, 6, corner, 6, skip 2, basically. So that's basically our pattern. Each row is going to increase by 2. So again, we're going to yarn over, we're gonna go into this stitch right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then again, we're at our corner, so let's do our cluster. Then again, pull those back. Gonna go through. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we skip the 1, 2, go through, and basically we're just doing the same thing that we were doing in the previous row, just we have 2 extra stitches to work with. So go ahead and finish your row, and then I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, so I finished my row. So again, I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of my first double crochet. And then now this row is going to be our last row. We're just going to do our chain 2. And again, this row is going to increase by 2. So we should have 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you're basically just going to be doing the same thing we've been doing in the previous rows. Go ahead and do your corner. You're going to do 6, skip 2, 6, and so on. Don't slip stitch once you get to the end. I'm going to show you how to make a more like seamless kind of finish without tying off a knot at the end. Okay, so I finished my rows. I've already cut my yarn. I'm going to go ahead and pull this through. Okay, I got my yarn needle right here, and we're just going to thread this through. And what we are going to do is where we would normally slip stitch, so into this space right here, we're gonna go through. We're gonna end up going, instead of going through like the bottom or through like we did in this one, we're actually gonna go through the back loop. So we're gonna go through the back loop, pull the yarn through, and then it creates a nice little seamless finish. So there's no knots or anything like that. It looks really nice and neat. Then what we are going to do, or I wanted to show you how I weave in this tail at the end. I basically just go through the back of my double crochets and just kind of go through these little loops that they got to weave it in, just to make sure it is nice and secure. And then I'm just going to go back the other way just to make it more secure. Alrighty, then I'm going to cut my yarn. And for the little tail for your magic circle, I would recommend not cutting this, just so we know which is what side of the star to put on the inside of our pocket. So this is going to be like the inside of our pocket, the bad side of the star, so like the one with all your tails and such like that. And then this is going to be our good side. So as you can see, it's nice and neat. We did a nice clean finish, and I just think these are so cute. They look so nice. So go ahead and make your second star, and then once you are done with that, we are going to start our cardigans. Okay, so now we are going to start our actual cardigan. So we are going to be switching to the 5.5 millimeter. What we are going to do is we are going to do another magic circle. So you can do it either of the two ways I showed you. You can do the chain 6, or you can do it the way I'm doing right now. I'm gonna yarn over. I'm gonna twist. Chain 1. Oop. Alright, and then we are going to chain 2 more. So we have a chain 3, and the chain 3 is going to act as our first double crochet. So we are going to place 2 more double crochets into that magic circle. Uh-oh. We're going to chain 1. And the chain 1 is going to be like our corner space in our hexagon. Do another cluster of 3. Alrighty. Then chain 1. And then another cluster. And chain 1. And basically you were just going to do that 3 more times, and then once you get to the end, I will show you what to do next. Okay, so once you finish that, we're gonna have 6 clusters of double crochet. When you're done with your last double crochet, you're going to chain 1. You're gonna pull that string to close your magic circle. And then you are going to slip stitch into the top of your chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and pull through. Okay. Next, we are going to chain 3, and then into that same space where we did our slip stitch right here, we are going to double crochet 3. Or sorry, double crochet 2. Okay, got 1 cluster. Into our next chain 1 space right here, you can see we are going to do a cluster of 3. Okay, we're going to chain 1, and then into that same space we are going to do another cluster of 3 double crochets. And then this will be 1 corner of our hexagon. So it should look like that, okay? Okay, then go into the next one, same thing. Going to do a cluster of 3. Do the chain 1 and back in it again. Okay, so when we get right back to where we started in this space right here where we placed our first cluster, we are going to place another cluster of 3. And then you're going to chain 1. And then again, we are just going to slip stitch in the top of our chain 3 and pull through. And then you can kind of already see the hexagon shape coming through. Again, we're going to chain 3, start our new row. In that same space again, we're going to make our cluster of 3. And then in our next space right here, you see we're not at a corner yet. So in this space right here, we are going to make a cluster of 3 double crochets. Okay, like that. Then we're in our corner right here again, so that means a cluster of 3. Chain 1 and another cluster of 3. Oh, okay. All right, and then again in that next space, do the cluster of 3. Then do your corner. Okay, then once you get to the end, again, in that first chain 1 space, we're gonna make another cluster of 3. Then a chain 1, slip stitch into the top of our chain 3, and then chain 3. Okay, so once you've made your cardigan the width you want it to be, you are going to go ahead and start one more row. But instead of doing the full like 6 sides, you're only going to be doing 4. And then from there is when I will show you how to do the sleeves. Okay, so once you've done those 4 sides, when you get to the corner, you're going to make one cluster of 3 and your chain 1. And then you're going to fold your cardigan like in the shape of a L. So it's going to be your sleeve going this way and the body going down the other way. And then what we are going to do is the corner right behind here. You're going to take your crochet hook. You're going to go in through the back way. You're going to yarn over and pull through and make a slip stitch. Okay, and then what you are going to do next is you're going to finish off your corner right here. You're going to yarn over and do your cluster of 3. Okay, and it'll look like that. Next, what you're going to do is on this side again, you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to go into that space right there. You're going to go through, going to yarn over, pull through, make another slip stitch, and then in this space right here, you're going to do a cluster of 3. Then again, we're gonna go into the back right here, make our slip stitch, pull through, and again, make another cluster. You want to make sure that it's even and you're not skipping like any of the spaces in the back, or else the sleeve will end up uneven. And you just want to keep doing this until you get to the end of your sleeve. And this is what it'll look like from the top. This is what it should look like. Okay? Okay, so I'm almost done with my sleeve. So again, I'm gonna go into this back loop right here. Put a yarn over, pull through, and then I'm at a corner. So I'm just gonna continue. I'm just gonna do that cluster of 3. And then this is going to be like the starting cluster from that last row we did. So what I'm going to do, same thing as we were doing like normally, we are going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to go in through the back. Maybe. Okay, go through our chain 3, yarn over, and pull through. And that's going to seal off our sleeve. And your sleeve should look like this from the top. And then what we are going to do next, after this, if you want to add length to your sleeve, depending on how big you make it, you might not have to add more length. Like if you're making it like a really bulky cardigan, you might not have to add more length. But if yours is a bit smaller than the one I'm making, you will want to probably add a couple more rows. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So what you're going to do is, after you've done this, you're going to chain 3, okay? And then in this space right here, you're going to do a cluster of 3. Okay. Then what you are going to do next is, into this space right here, you're going to do another cluster of 3. It's gonna look all like that. Sorry, it's gonna look like that. Then you're just gonna want to keep going around the sleeve and place your clusters of 3. Okay, so once you have made your way around your sleeve, what you are going to do is, I still have a few spaces left, so let me just do those real quick. Then one more into this space. And instead of doing another cluster in our starting space like we would normally do, all you're going to do is just slip stitch into the top of your chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, and you're good. Okay, now if you're still adding more length, all you would do is just do the same steps as the first row. You would do your chain 3 and then make your way around. I, though, am not adding any more length to my cardigan just because mine is already a bit big. But what you are going to do next, after this, we are going to work on the cuffs. Now, you don't have to make cuffs. You can leave yours like nice and open if you want, but I'm going to show you how I do the cuffs. So obviously this is a really big like circle, it's really open. So we have to close that up. So what we are going to do is chain 1, and what we're going to do next is I'm going to single crochet into this space right here, right into my chain, top of my chain 3. So I'm going to do a single crochet, and then I'm going to grab one of my stitch markers. So I'm going to put my stitch marker in my first single crochet. And what we're going to do next is called a decrease. So what that is we are going to go through these 2 stitches. I'm going to go through, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to go through that next one and pull up another loop. So I'm going to have 3 loops on my hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through, and that's a decrease. Then in the next one, we're going to do a single crochet. In the next 2 stitches, we're going to do another decrease. Okay, and what the decrease does is obviously it decreases the size of the sleeve, the circumference of it, and shrinks it down. I like to have tighter cuffs around my wrist. I don't like it when it's all like loose and things like that, so that's why we do this. Alright, so I just did 2, so I'm gonna do a single crochet, then I'm gonna do my decrease, and you're just going to keep doing this until you get to the end of your to the other side of your sleeve. Okay, so I've gotten to the other side of my sleeve, so I'm going to be doing another decrease. And your when you end your sleeve, it might be different. You might end on a single crochet or you might end on a decrease. It just depends how big your sleeve is in terms of circumference. So I'm ending on a decrease. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to slip stitch into my first single crochet where my stitch marker is, and just pull through. I'm going to take that stitch marker out. Now I still want like my sleeve to be a lot smaller, especially because my my sleeves are a bit big, and I want my cuffs to be tighter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, okay, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to place a single crochet into for this stitch right here. So I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm going to put my stitch marker back. Going to do decreases in these next 2 stitches. So pull up the 3 loops. Oops. There we go. Do a decrease. And then instead of doing a single crochet in this next space, I'm actually going to be doing another decrease. So for this row, it's going to be 1 single crochet and 2 decreases. Okay, so I've reached the end of my row. So I'm going to do next, I'm just going to again slip stitch where my stitch marker is into my first single crochet. Pull that through. Gonna remove my stitch marker, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, and what we are going to do, pull some of that yarn through. I'm gonna go ahead and cut. and just pull the rest of that through to secure that stitch. What we are going to do next is we are going to grab our pale yellow yarn and our 4.5 millimeter hook. Then what we are going to do is going to take some of that yarn and into that same one where we did our slip stitch. If you can see, I'm all the way on the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back through this one right here where we ended off. You're going to take the yellow yarn over, pull it through, and then you're going to make a chain 1 to secure it. And basically what we're doing right now is we're starting our cuffs. So what you want to do is you want to chain how long you want your chains to be. I'm going to chain 9, so I have my first chain, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's how big I want my cuffs to be. What we are then going to do is we are going to single crochet into this chain. So single crochet, just gonna go through these. All right, so when we're back to our first chain, what we're going to do, instead of doing a single crochet, you're gonna pull up a loop, and then into that next space next to this, you're gonna go in through this stitch right here. Gonna go through, pull up a loop, and you're just going to slip stitch through those 2 loops. And then in the next stitch over, you're gonna go over and slip stitch again. And then you're going to turn your work, and then we're going to head back up the cuff. Now what I like to do as I go along is take the tail and sort of like cross it over, and then with my other yarn it goes over that tail. That's so it weaves in as I go and I don't have to worry as much about it in the end. So next we are going to continue doing our single crochets, but instead we are going to go in through the back loops of our chain. So the back loops, so here I'm now thinking I probably should have used a darker yarn, but basically I'll show you in this stitch right here because you can see that better. This is going to be your front loop, this one is your back loop. So front and back. So we are going to continue single crocheting into the back loops only. And then not everybody does this, but I like to chain 1 at the end. That's so I keep the same amount of stitches for my cuffs. So although I chained 9, I now have 8 that we are working with. And then what we are going to do is you're just going to do the same thing as before. you're going to go into the back loop, do your single crochets, our last stitch, we're going to go through the back loop, pull up into our next space right here. I'm going to pull that up. You're going to slip stitch and bring those through those 2 loops. Going to go over again into that other next space, that space next to it, and then pull through again. And then that starts our next row. Okay, so I have made it around my cuff, and I'm going to show you. So you should have this loop where your row currently is. There's going to be a smaller loop here in the middle, and then here is going to be where we started our cuff. You want to make sure that you are ending off at the top of your cuff, and for this you do not want to do the chain 1 at the end. And what we are going to do is basically we are going to work our way down, and it's going to seal our cuffs together. So basically still going through, well, I guess looking at it this way, if you can see, we're going to be working in through these loops. So these ones right here on this side. So these would be considered, I guess, your front loops. Basically, you want to work your way into the loops like that. Go through that way. And then we're going to go through this loop right here, like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over, and we're going to pull through those loops. Then as you'll see, that sort of lines it up for the rest of the row. So again, we're going to go through the next stitch. So that's going to be this one right here. We're going to go through. Oop. Basically, you'll see it like this. Then go through the other side. Yarn over and pull through. I'm at my last ones. Oop. The last ones are a little bit tricky sometimes. They're a bit tight. And then I'm going to go into that one. We're going to yarn over and pull through. And then it should look like this. Okay, so once you've finished that, doing all your slip stitches, you're going to cut your yarn. I already did mine. I'm gonna pull this through my yarn needle. Okay. Okay, so once you've thread your yarn through your yarn needle, this little hole right here, right next to where we just made our last slip knot and tied off, I'm gonna go through then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna fold back that cuff, and basically I am just going to work through all of these little like stitches like on the back. Alrighty, I think that's good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that one. And then cuff should look like this.